Well, when I was a teenager, I used to like hitchhike around alone in the country, talk to people like on the edge of society, like kind of like outlaw types.
This is Andrew Callaghan. When Andrew graduated with a journalism degree in 2019, he decided to hit the road in an RV with his two best friends to chronicle everything weird and wild about our country. The show racked up millions of views, yet in November 2020, Andrew strangely stopped posting to his YouTube account. And in March, the truth came out. Somehow, he lost the show he had built from the ground up. This week, how Andrew Callaghan rebranded journalism. With The Daily Show first airing in 1996, Jon Stewart popularized something seldom done before. He combined commentary with comedy, towing the line between journalist and entertainer. Since then, this model has been tried and tested by plenty of people, from Stephen Colbert's satirical Colbert Report to John Oliver and his deep dives into newsworthy topics on Last Week Tonight. What's clear is that this brand of injecting humor into news, an oft-successful combo, is not going anywhere anytime soon. However, for many journalism purists, there's an inherent problem here, and it's the concept of objectivity in the pursuit of facts. Whether or not it's possible to truly be objective is a conversation for another day. For this essay, however, I'm going to focus on a fleeting little thing known as trust. There's a clip from when Jon Stewart went on CNN's political debate show Crossfire, only to roast the hosts, including a younger bow-tie-clad Tucker Carlson, and talk about why this form of media hurts America.
You're partisan, what do you call it, hacks.
Wait, John, wait.
You have a responsibility to the public discourse, and you fail miserably.
I think you're a good comedian.
If the news anchors weren't informing Americans, Stewart said, the responsibility fell on comedians like himself, who are really just here to crack jokes and make people laugh.
You're on CNN. The show that leads into me is puppets making crank phone calls.
Stewart essentially dug the grave for CNN himself, as Crossfire is most famous for getting canceled shortly after this episode first aired. Over 15 years later, though, his words still ring true. We're living in a hyper-polarized environment where cable has been replaced by social media as our preferred place to follow the news. However, this medium has only raised the stakes, as platforms operate on business models that prey on emotion, attention, and time. In other words, from a capitalistic standpoint, there's never been a better time to be a partisan hack. Looking at you, One America News Network. This brings me back to the idea of trust. Who do you trust when it comes to how you get your information? Is it rooted in the setting in which the information is conveyed, or the quote-unquote professionalism of the content itself? I was thinking about this a lot in the wake of the protests in Minneapolis in 2020. I consumed a lot of news from different mediums last June, between reading newspapers, listening to podcasts, watching broadcast streams, and yes, scrolling through Twitter. And yet, out of everything I took in, the thing that informed me the most about what was happening on the ground was a YouTube video. So who was this 23-year-old, fresh out of journalism school, interviewing people as buildings burned down in the background?
Yeah, maybe you could introduce me as Andrew Callaghan, young creative with his finger on the pulse, 3.4 GPA multimedia journalist, interested in creating anthropological road-based study of American oddity.
A self-described 14-year-old stoner in high school, Andrew Callaghan often found himself surrounded by an eclectic mix of characters in his hometown of Seattle. When he enrolled in a journalism class during his freshman year of high school, his peers were amazed at the eye-opening stories he would present, as he always had a knack for offering a lens into worlds many of us never see up close. At 19, after his freshman year at Loyola University in New Orleans, Callaghan packed a toothbrush and some clothes and decided to hitchhike across the country. He chronicled his experiences and the people he met on the road with a book called All Gas, No Brakes, A Hitchhiker's Diary. Pitching the 10,000-word zine to media companies didn't go as well as he might have hoped.
I'm in the Big Apple to do big business, and no.
But that didn't stop Callaghan from continuing to hone his craft. he filmed packages for school assignments, similar to what's aired on local news.
Black and gold.
However, the glory days of Juul may soon be coming to an end. Concerned that juuling provides young teens a gateway to cigarette smoking, the U.S. Food and Drug Administration...
Callaghan quit his job working at a restaurant and launched Quarter Confessions, an account that went viral for its portrayal of the drunk and disorderly on Bourbon Street in New Orleans.
I can suck my own right here, right now.
Hold on, it's a little soft.
In an interview from 2019, Callaghan talked about how his journalism professors taught him that he should go the conventional route, starting at a TV station or local newspaper, before working his way up to the New York Times over the course of 2 decades. He told Office Mag, "I felt like with serious, straightforward journalistic reporting, there's always this undercurrent of boredom. I like video, I like bare news, I like things that don't necessarily follow the conventions of journalistic integrity. I like to make my own content, I think it's more rewarding, and I think that people like it more because I don't follow someone else's program." And while he called formal work covering subjects like prison reform and gentrification rewarding, he realized how the new form of media he was creating with Bourbon Street reached more people than the local news. Having learned these lessons, and with a degree in tow, Callaghan once again packed his bags and hit the road, this time with an RV and 2 of his best friends. Smoking with furries, attending Donald Trump Jr.'s book signing, and interviewing clowns with foot fetishes. This was the natural evolution of Callaghan's original zine, driving around the US and documenting real people and the weirdness running rampant in our country. Among his inspirations, Callaghan references Sacha Baron Cohen's work on The Ali G Show and Daily Show correspondents like Wyatt Cenac. When talking with Vice in 2020 about the comedic way in which he edits his videos, Callaghan said, "I think laughs give the brain a green light to absorb information, dark or light." But he never wanted to create simply meme content. His desire was to provide authentic insight and legitimate reporting into what was happening on the ground. And nowhere was that more prevalent than in Minneapolis, where, in the wake of George Floyd's murder, he interviewed the actual people causing destruction, sometimes even as it happened.
Ever see me with no suit on, with like a black sweatshirt like this, it means that I'm not there to make jokes. It wasn't so much of me being like, oh, let me get political because, I want to get more of a liberal audience. It was like, media is not covering this. Media is not talking to the people causing destruction in Minneapolis and figuring out why.
I first watched All Gas No Brakes in December 2019, yet this was when I truly saw Callaghan's vision, the full potential of this new strain of journalism, realized. This body of work propelled him to new heights, with the channel reaching 1.7 million subscribers and tens of thousands of paid supporters on Patreon.
But I want to be able to make actually comedic shit and then actually do real reporting at the same time. I don't think anyone is gonna try to box me in at this point.
While he would continue to cover the absurdity of rocket launches in Florida and 4th of July celebrations on the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, it was his video on the nuances of protests in Portland, protests that many have latched onto for the purpose of biased narrative making, that showed how he could successfully balance his coverage.
This is not a joke, and the only reason you think it's a joke is because you're white and you don't have the same fear I have.
We only came here to get naked.
He got naked, he got butt.
Similar to Callaghan's Minneapolis video, his coverage of Portland received widespread applause, except from the last group he expected to box him in, Doing Things Media, the company who had backed All Gas No Brakes from the get-go. And with a single statement on his Instagram story, Andrew Callaghan revealed that he lost control of the show. He had grown from teenage hitchhiking zine to a full-scale media juggernaut. The key point that emerged from reporting on All Gas No Brakes was that Doing Things Media wanted Callaghan to stick to humor and avoid covering news and politics. When Callaghan disagreed, the company locked him and his co-producers out of their accounts. All of the content and intellectual property gone overnight. This brand of journalism only worked with the man in the tacky suit, however, and his team behind him, which is why a month later, Callaghan and his crew returned with a new venture, an independent media company in its own right, Channel 5. But there's more to unpack here, as there's plenty of other journalists who are doing incredible work. For example, the Minneapolis Star-Tribune received a Pulitzer, one of journalism's most prestigious awards, for its extensive coverage of the same George Floyd protests Callaghan filmed. And yet, America's overall trust in the news media is continuing to erode. There are plenty of confounding factors at play here, of course, with partisanship and misinformation leading the charge. However, I still think we can learn from Callaghan's journey in creating a successful media entity. First, Callaghan's commitment to independence after the debacle of Doing Things allows him to retain creative control over the stories he tells and the events he pursues. His on-the-ground reporting of real people running rampant in our country is clearly bringing viewers in the door, and he doesn't have to answer to any institutional hierarchies. Second, while Callaghan clearly has a bias and edits his videos to optimize for comedic timing, he asks informal, open-ended questions to meet people where they're at. This creates trust with his interviewees, letting them become the story, and not him.
I appreciate you listening and giving us an outlet and a platform to speak how we feel, bro.
That trust permeates to his audience, too. Andrew has the unique ability to bring people together in the YouTube comment section. Third, Callaghan has been able to take the stories he tells and the trust he's gained and build a successful brand. Since launching Channel 5, there are over 1 million subscribers in just 6 months. Their work is completely funded by patrons on Patreon, brand deals with Cash App, and fans buying merchandise. Through trials and tribulations, the journalist's vision is becoming a reality, down to the universe he's creating with wacky characters and a custom news van. Of course, as a white male, Callaghan does have privileges that not all journalists share. Viewers might see how he was able to eat a blunt on camera and film inside a store as it was looted, yet CNN's Omar Jimenez, an Afro-Latino journalist, was arrested for simply doing his job, reporting near the site of protests in Minneapolis. Nevertheless, as the world becomes more and more digitized, maybe it is the role of funny people to inform us. As Stewart noted, the satire only works if the professionals are doing their jobs, adapting to their audience's needs. Another lesson I think we can learn is to maybe take a hard look at how we package things, gatekeeping the nuances in which we communicate complicated topics. Callaghan critiqued this process best himself.
Only like the lamest creators analyze themselves, package it with buzzwords, and distribute it. I just go outside and put a suit on and just talk to people.
Yeah. To tie this whole thing together, though, is my main point. When it comes to determining how we consume our modern-day media, why can't we put our faith in a journalist wearing a hoodie, driving around the country in an RV, and uploading his version of the news onto YouTube?
Okay, thank you. Andrew Callaghan, Channel 5 Action News. So,
Channel 5 from where, though? Describe
Channel 5 Action News is not actually a TV channel. It's the name of our YouTube channel.
I got it. I think I knew that about you.
Hey, this is Nate from Powder Blue, and thanks so much for watching. So, on December 19th, we're launching the first ever magazine dedicated to covering the creator economy. Every Sunday between now and then, we'll be dropping a new video essay at 7 p.m. Central Time, right here on our YouTube channel. These video essays will cover a variety of topics under our Season 1 theme, Transitions, as we reflect on our past while introducing our future. To stay in the loop, click the link in our description to get notified when we drop new content, products, and more. Alright, that's all for this week. Until next week for Essay 2, the weirdos are winning.